What's going on, guys? Sorry about that little technical difficulties, but it is time for Friday Night Live. Let's get things rolling. Whew, what is going on? I was trying to figure out why everybody wants to do their live videos right now at 9 o'clock. Might have been 9 o'clock on Friday nights for 3.5 years. But anyway, we'll get that worked out in the back end. It's crazy, but if I got to change my days, I'll definitely change it so everybody gets a chance to watch all their favorite YouTubers do their lives. Oh man, who all's on here? Let's see. Ernest Cole Fishing, what's going on, man? Jackson Jones, Dave Carver, how you doing, brother? What is up? What is up? Oh man, see. Oh, Tackle Junkie's testing his new computer tonight. We'll be streaming on Thursday again next week. Good. Jimmy, dadgummit. Oh, man. Hope he doesn't stay on long because it thins out everybody's numbers. But that's okay. It is what it is. I love that guy. Let's see. Who else is on here? John Larson, what's up, man? What's up? Sean Lay. Yeah, you got to see me on the KVD show. That's awesome, brother. Yeah, if you guys didn't check it out, it's a really good show. Kevin Van Dam has a podcast on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, and they air them on the Plano Facebook page and another YouTube channel. I never checked out to see which one that was. So, but it was good. We talked about tackle organization. I shared some pretty cool secrets that I've been keeping for a while, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. So. Goodness. Bowden Bass, what's happened to all the uploads? I've been taking care of family mainly. After having COVID and holidays all came together at the same time, along with family issues and just getting things right. I was, right around the farm. And then I took off, went to Florida for 3 weeks and got way behind on my honeydew list. So, but I've got one already uploaded, ready to launch. I was going to launch it yesterday, but our power was out. So it'll be get launched probably Sunday. And then tomorrow I'm filming one, possibly two more. So they're coming just slowly. But I'll get back in the rhythm here shortly. I'm heading to Lake Murray, South Carolina on Monday. Going to be down there till Sunday, the following Sunday. So I got a tournament. Actually, I got two tournaments, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So hopefully I can come back with a little bit of a check. So other than that, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. So let's see. Andy K, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Black Bass Angler, what's up, Hollywood? Nope. Oh, goodness. What's a good spinning rod for jerk baits? Whew, spinning rod. I just normally would use like a medium or even a medium light. Depends on the size of the jerk bait. I like to use little double hooked, two treble hooked jerk baits. So I would throw it on a medium light. The bait caster that I use is a very, very limber medium moderate. But it was a custom. It wasn't custom. It was a prototype that 13 sent me. And had me test out for square bills, and it was way too limber for square bills, but it's a perfect jerkbait rod. So let's see what else is going on. Let's don't forget about Stuck on Fluke, the giveaway I do every single month. You win a $50 gift card to Tackle Warehouse, $50 gift card to my website, and you also can win a trip with me in May. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the winners from each month, throw them in a hat, pick a name, then I'm going to go to your house, pick you up, and go fishing. So it ought to be fun. But all you got to do is go to my website, buy a sticker, take a sticker, put it on something, and then take a picture of it and put it on Instagram with the hashtag StuckOnFluke. Ooh, I had some pizza tonight. I probably shouldn't have eaten it, but it was good. All right, let's get into some Q&A. I just want to get rocking and rolling. David Carver says, hey, Gene, what rod would you pair with the Concept Z Slide for plastics and jigs? The Z Slide is kind of a pretty cool little reel. I only have two of them. And where I see the advantage of being able to adjust your brakes on the fly is when you're fishing docks or skipping underneath cover and just kind of pitching and skipping. And you know, you want to loosen them up just a little bit for skipping. And so you loosen your brakes up a little bit for skipping, and then all of a sudden you have something over here you want to cast to real quick. A lot of times you got to tighten down your cast control knob and make a cast. Well, what I do is I just flip that switch, you know, turn one brake off and go. And that's basically what that switch is. It's you can add or take away one brake is what you're doing. And so, you know, skipping, make a cast. You just flip the switch, make the cast, flip it back, and go back to skipping again. So I'm trying to figure out why my desk is shaking. I'm not even touching it. But anyway, so my kids use my office as their virtual learning class for school because it's got a cool background and makes them look cool. But they like to put their feet up on my desk, and it has loosened all of the nuts and bolts on my desk. My desk is a metal and glass desk held together by a bunch of Allen screws. So it wiggles, and I got to tighten everything down. But anyway, good question, David. Appreciate it. Let's see. What's up, David Carlson? How you doing, man? Jackson Jones, what is your favorite jerk baits for this time of year in Georgia? Whew, I love the old Lucky Craft pointers. I also use Spro mixed sticks. Old Rogues. I'm trying to think of the other ones I've got in my box that I run. Strike King jerk baits, the KVD jerk baits. And then that's about it. There's some that I'll have. They're just like oddballs I've collected over the years. I have a ton of jerk baits that I rarely ever use except for this time of the year. But those are the main ones I usually pull out. I've got one tied on for my trip tomorrow to the Lanier. And it is a pointer, an old Lucky Craft pointer. It's a discontinued color that they haven't made in probably 12 to 15 years. So, and I bought 7 or 8 of them years ago when they discontinued that color. But it's pretty crazy when you can pull something off of out of a drawer and it's still in the package 15 years later, and you pull it out and it's just, you know, 15-year-old bait, but it's brand spanking new. Jim Dillard, I absolutely cannot find fish in the winter, but I'm on the bank. Any advice? Yes, go find, if you're, I don't know what kind of water you're fishing, go find the steepest bank that you can safely fish. It's usually where the creek channel or some type of a ditch runs up close to the bank, and start fishing on the two edges of it, the two sides of that deep bank. It'll be kind of flat, and it'll start to steepen up, and then the bank will go out like this. Well, you want to fish that part where you want to be standing on that part that just starts to get steep, and fish out there, and then go to the other side and fish that one right there. They'll be fishing that area. You just may have to fish really, really slow. So, and a lot of times they'll put their bellies right on the bottom. I've been wondering this for a while. What do you have clipped on your hack? This is called the Angler Bullseye is what it is. Let me show it to you. That's what it is. The Angler Bullseye. And when I hit the button, I don't know if you'll be able to see this because of the lighting, but a little red light turns on. What that does, that communicates with the app on my phone, the Angler app on my phone. And every time I catch a fish, I hit the button, and it saves the date, the time, the GPS location of the fish that I caught on a map. It tracks me as I'm fishing, so I know where I go and what direction I go. Here, let me show it to you a little bit. I'll pull it up. But it keeps track of the fish that I catch. So I'm going to pull it up real quick and just show it to you. And if you want more information on this, every one of my videos down in the link down in the description has a link to more information about it. All right, so this is the lake I was fishing down in Florida for the tournament. And this is my report. I know you can't see it very good, but it's the map of where I went. It tells me the air temperature. I go down, it tells me what the barometric pressure was, and I line those up with the times at which I caught fish. These are my fish catches. And I could tell what the weather was doing while I was catching fish. And if I had other things like water temperature, it'll hooks up to a Lowrance or through Bluetooth to a Lowrance depth finder, so to keep track of water temperature and depth and that kind of stuff. I just don't have a Lowrance. But anyway, so what's cool is at the end of the day, when I finish the report, I can, and see if I can do this to show you guys. I can go back and see and follow my path. And this is what my path looks like. There we go. Focus. That's good. Now, and I was all over the place that day. And it just keeps on going. You know, I caught a fish right there. And I just kind of, and it goes back and I kind of give myself a report of what I do. So that's what's pretty cool about the Angler app. Let me close it out so it doesn't drain my battery, but that's what it is, man. I love it. Been using it. And what's nice is now a year and a half after I started using it, I go back to these same lakes that I fished during the same period of time. And I can see all of the fish that I caught the year prior. And I can go back and see what if I keep good records, see what I caught them on and what the conditions were and all kinds of stuff. Pretty cool. How are 13 soft baits? Man, I am beginning to, there's a few of them that I'm beginning to really, really love. The Invader, the Jerk, the big squirm, worm, that kind of stuff. Those are the ones I'm really starting to really dive into and really love to fish. A lot of the other ones I really haven't had a chance to gain any confidence of, but they're good quality soft plastics. They last a long time. The ones that need to be tough are tough. The ones that need to be really soft are really soft. They play around with that, with the density of the plastics, which I really like. And they don't really copy anybody. They have versions of certain things, but it's their own design, their own look. So, which is pretty cool. Redfish, what is a good crankbait rod for small crankbaits 6 to 8 feet deep? 6 to 8 feet, I'm usually throwing a medium moderate rod if for cranks that are going to 6 to 8. A medium heavy moderate would probably work too. I like the 13 Fishing has one that's a 7-1 moderate cranking rod, and that's what I use for my 6 to 8 foot depths. And I don't know if it's a medium or a medium heavy. It's kind of an in between type deal, but it's a good rod. So. My comments just totally skipped way ahead, and I missed a whole bunch of them. Here we go. What paddle do you use for your kayak? I use a Bending Branches Angler Pro, a carbon fiber Pro. It's an expensive paddle. What I always recommend is somebody buy a really good paddle. Somewhere like a Bending Branches Angler Ace is a good one, and the Angler Classic is a good one too. They don't flex. They're really, really good for getting, for lasting a long time. They're good and durable. I just really love them. So how's Chad going? I don't know how Hoover's doing. He's doing pretty, he's been down in Florida for like a month. So he caught a bunch of peacock bass the other day. I imagine he's doing pretty good. Unless something's happened that I don't know about. What do you think about the 13 Omen Black Yak rods you helped design? I love them all the way up. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. They are all good except for the handles are too short. And I figured this out the hard way. The handles are too short for the heavy, long rods. Mainly because the things that you fish on them, the bass literally can gain so much leverage on you that you need an extra 2 inches on the butt of the rod to be able to gain leverage. I almost had a bass in Florida pull the rod out of my hand. So that's the only thing. The rest of them, dude, being able to switch hands real quick. The rod, the handle's not so long that it gets caught on your PFD. It stays out of getting hung up on other things like straps and whatever else you have on. And the cool thing is like a 7'6" rod is it's 7'6", but from the reel to the tip is like a 7'11" rod, because all they did was just slide the reel seat down and put the short handle on the 7'6" rod. And they're the Omen blanks. So they're pretty freaking awesome. So I'm proud of them. But yeah, the heavier ones, you got to really tuck that handle in or you're going to get the rod ripped out of your hand. I got it on video too. It was hilarious. I did catch the fish. It was during the tournament. It was my big fish for a tournament. Andy Leonard, I got you on my fantasy kayak fishing league. I'm hoping you do well in the kayak tournaments this year, man. So far, so good. My first one was kind of a flop. I was still trying to get used to the new app that they're using. The Fishing Chaos app. I had some issues with it. My phone wasn't liking the app. Second day, I ended up coming in fourth. And so I've got a 21st, a 4th, and then we'll see what I do this next weekend on Murray. So we'll see what happens, man. I've fished that lake for a long time. I lived in that area for 15 years, so I know the lake pretty well. More importantly, I know how to fish blueback herring lakes this time of year. So I'm going in with my head on right. That's for sure. Let's see. Thinking of taking a road trip to a lake different than what I normally fish. Deep, clear lakes with no vegetation. Was thinking of Lake Seminole. Any suggestions? Seminole's a good one. Eufaula would be a good one too. It's kind of a middle of the road. If it's got grass, it's got shallows, but it also has that offshore stuff that you might be used to. The water's not quite as clear, so the bass are going to be a little bit shallower. So it'd be kind of a middle of the road thing. So I'd go Eufaula instead of Seminole to start with. And if you want to go Seminole, that's great. But if you're used to deep, clear lakes, Eufaula would kind of fall in the middle and be easier for you. Wouldn't be quite such a shock to your system, let's say. So, Fluke Master, do you fish any saltwater? If so, what's your favorite redfish lure? I do fish. I love to go down to Louisiana. I haven't been in about a year and a half, and so I'm really, really fiending to go. But I love to go down there and fish for reds. And I usually just throw a black paddle tail with a chartreuse tail. I do all sight fishing. I just try to throw something close to them and get them to bite. I'm not really picky. If they're on top water, I'm great, but typically I'm throwing that. So, Graham Gabriel, what color is best? Color depends on the clarity of the water. I've got a real good video about how to select colors according to the clarity of your water and how to choose or how to figure out what the clarity of your water is. So biggest thing I've learned recently that has changed my thinking was a bass. I used to think a bass saw double what you see in the water. So if you see a white bait a foot deep, a bass can see it 2 feet away. But that's not true. A bass can see it 3 feet away. So for your depth, you just triple it, or you multiply it. Yeah, well, you triple it basically. So they can see 2 feet. If you can see 2 feet, they can see 6 feet. That kind of stuff. So I'm learning that, and it really has changed the way I crank. I'll crank 6 to 7 feet if I can see 2 feet. That's for a whole nother video, though. I hate to confuse you guys. Can we get more tips on up north fishing? Maybe in the summertime. Yes. Right now, no. Nope, I'm not chipping any ice. I'm not getting an auger out. I have ice fishing gear. I just don't like to do it. So not really my bread and butter. But yeah, maybe in the summertime I'll get up there in Michigan. I love to go to Minnesota and fish. So Alexander Jackson, this is a good one. How many of you, and I'm going to send this one out to everybody, be honest, have you ever had to use socks as your toilet paper? To be honest, no. I always have a package of diaper wipes in my boat and in my kayak and in my truck. I always do. So no, I never have. So I always have emergency wipes. So I'd like to see how many other ones have had to use their socks. I have gotten poison ivy on my butt, though. That's because I sat on it. How do I feel about spider wire braid? I haven't used it in many, many, many years. I have no clue. All right, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I know I'm way behind. Here's a good one. Silent Night says, can I fish a finesse jig in March or April with a medium power fast action bait caster rod? Yes. Yes, and yes. March and April, that's when a finesse jig really, really shines. I don't know what kind of part of the country but anywhere around the southeast, south, even into the Midwest, a finesse jig is amazing in March and April. So, and up north, as you start to get ice out, start throwing a finesse jig on rock piles and things like that on drops. You'll be amazed at what you can catch. So, Dennis, do you not know me? Holy cow. Dennis asked, what are my fishing shoes? Hope it's not Crocs. These are my spares. I had them down here in my office. And I just bought 2 more pair of Crocs. I bought the new Croc tennis shoes too. Those were pretty good. So yes, I wear Crocs. I have very, very wide feet with high arches. And so there's only 2 brands of tennis shoes in the country that fit me. And they're super expensive. And so I've been wearing Crocs for years just because they fit me and they feel good. So yeah, it sucks. I can be 2 days trying to find shoes that fit me. What rods and reels did you use before 13? I had Duckets is what I used. I bought all the Duckets that I had. I never was on sponsored by them. But I used them because they were white and you guys could see them on video. Then I went to Ducket and said, hey man, my YouTube channel is getting real popular. Can we work out a business deal? And they said, nope. And so I really was at that point in time in my YouTube career where I had to start bringing on sponsors and had to start, helping pay bills and that kind of stuff. And so I got a couple of 13 rods and tried them out and loved them, realized that they were a lot better than the price that they had on there. And so we started talking, and a year later I signed a contract. So I'm never fast at doing anything like sponsorships. I don't jump on sponsorships. Biggest thing is I want to believe in the product before I ever start talking about it or do anything with it. So I really did. I tested those things out and tried them out. And that's why I'm with 13. But yeah, Duckets were great. They were a little bit lighter on the power than what was normal. But they were great rods. They really were. Carl Rotman, people are really talking about pre-spawn. How many weeks should we delay that line of thinking? Living in Minnesota, still 8+ inches of ice on the lake. Your pre-spawn will start at ice out. It will have already started, but you're going to be able to fish those types of conditions and things like that at ice out. Ice out. And so that's the biggest thing is it's just, pay attention to what the bass are doing when you get to that ice out, and use those types of lures. Lipless crankbaits, chatterbaits, jerk baits will be the first thing you need to throw, and a jig is the second thing you need to throw. And as that water starts to warm up and gets into the 40s, you should start moving that jerk bait a little bit faster. And as it gets into the high 40s, a little bit faster, and so on and so forth. So you'd be doing just fine. So let's see. I don't even want to. I'm trying to figure out how to read your name. Markakis Silverbane. Hope I didn't butcher that, but I probably did. I'm looking at the Black Omen yak rods. I do not have any bait casting rods yet. Which would be a good one to start with? Get the 7'3" medium heavy. I think it's a 7'3". I'm pretty sure it is. 7'3" medium heavy is one that I would start with. And then your next bait caster should be the medium. I think it's a 7-foot medium. If you're looking at those, that medium heavy is my favorite Texas rig rod. Matter of fact, I got a second one because Jordan kept stealing that one and taking it fishing. So I bought him one, and so he could use it. But yeah, dudes, the medium heavy 7'3" is a great Texas rig, jig rod. It'll do a bunch of things. It really will. Oh, that's a great question. Michael Cassidy, are spotted bass similar to largemouth bass as far as behavior? Nah, they're actually more similar to smallmouth. In my mind, let me get you into my mind and try not to get too confused because my mind is all over the place. But I see smallmouth bass as super aggressive. They love current and they're more active in colder water than a largemouth bass. And I see a largemouth bass as lazy, don't like to be in the current, and not super aggressive. In between is a spotted bass, if that makes sense. So I'm going to fish for spotted bass close to the current. I'm going to fish for spotted bass a little bit closer to the main lake in pre-spawn. Still up in the creeks though, but closer to the main lake and closer to deep water. And I'm going to fish for them with faster baits. I'm not going to be afraid to fish a little bit faster. I'm fishing Lake Lanier tomorrow, which is a nationally famous spotted bass lake. And we are going to be fishing in the mouths of creeks. And we're going to be fishing, I don't know what the water temperature is. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but I'm guessing it's in the 40s. We're going to be fishing jerk baits, but a little bit faster than we normally would. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, but yeah, they're pretty aggressive. And they love to school up, and they'll suspend a little bit more than what a largemouth bass. If a spotted bass is suspended off the bottom, if you see it on the fish finder, if it's suspended off the bottom, it's usually feeding. If a largemouth is suspended off the bottom, it's usually very inactive. So, how did the Motorguide XI3 hold up in Florida? Any issues with the grass? None at all. Matter of fact, I could turn it on if I got, caught up in the grass. I would turn the head of it 90 degrees, hit the high button, turn it back, or 180 degrees, turn it back 180 degrees, hit the high button again, and it would pretty much almost always clear the grass. So I loved it, man. It was great. Rhino Joe, looks like Gene was running all over. I was all over the place. Sure is. I'm leaving Monday to go to South Carolina. So, I don't know if I'm put out. I'm ready for this tournament travel and stuff. This might be. Don't quote me on this, but it might be the last tournament I fish in a little while. We'll see. We'll see. I love being at home, and I need to concentrate more on videos and the tournament stuff. It's getting in the way. For sure. I'd rather make videos for you guys than to fish a tournament. We'll see how I do. What's the best starting temperature for blade baits? Dude, I fish blade baits until the water's frozen. And I know that a lot of ice guys fish similar baits that are really, really small. But yeah, and then I'll stop fishing blade baits when they get somewhere around 50 degrees. As the water's rising. Graham Gabriel, I've answered your question a dozen times or once already. Says, what color is best? You'll have to go watch the video about how to choose color. How do you fish the lipless crankbaits and when? I am in South Florida. So Florida's a little different. Okay, I will pull a lipless crankbait out when I'm fishing submerged hydrilla. And if it's mixed in with a little bit of milfoil, that's fine. The reason being is because submerged hydrilla is easy to rip out of. Milfoil is a little bit harder, and everything else, a lipless crankbait will get hung in. So that's typically when I fish it. I'm going to fish it real fast and stop, and just 3 or 4 turns, stop, 3 or 4 turns, stop, real quick stops is what I'm going to do through that hydrilla. And I'm trying to tick the hydrilla, rip it through the hydrilla, and get reaction bites. That's the only time I'm going to fish lipless crankbaits. I know there's other times, but when I'm down in Florida, that's what I look for. If I can find that submerged, deeper hydrilla, I'm going to be throwing a lipless. It just works. So up here, it's a whole lot different. I'm throwing it in cold weather. From the time the water temperature comes up to 45 degrees until it gets to 60 degrees, I'm going to be throwing a lipless crankbait. Let's see. That's a good one. Damien. He's like, what is up? He said, what's up? So this Sunday, the high is going to be like 50 degrees. The water has about 3 to 4 feet visibility. What would you throw? And we need to catch up. Yeah, we do, man. I was going to go out to Rocky today and I didn't get it. I got the boat loaded up and got sidetracked and didn't get a chance to get out there. 3 to 4 feet visibility. Jude, throw it on Rocky. I'm going to tell you right now, throw a chatterbait. Throw a chatterbait. And a lipless crankbait and throw that lipless crankbait out on some of our spots. I know the high spots that we always fish. Let it sink to the bottom and then pull it slowly, almost like you're on the bottom, like you're fishing a Carolina rig fast. Pull it and then stop and reel it and and just let it sink back to the bottom. So you're just literally pulling it this far off the bottom. Real slow pull and reel up the slack. Real slow pull and reel up the slack. And that's all you got to do, man. Jerry Franks, Gene, do you ever fish the big fish tournament that come to town? I don't. I fished one on Clark's Hill several years ago with Ryan, and it was fun. I had a blast. There's a guy that won, and then I fished the Wednesday night after that, and that guy showed up with a fish and tried to weigh a fish that was dead. That was about 6 pounds, and it had been dead for a couple of days. And we all got the feeling that guy had some fish in a basket, and we had a feeling that he had cheated on that tournament, and they never gave him a lie detector test. And that's when I stopped fishing those tournaments. If they're gonna tell you they're gonna give you a lie detector test, they better give you a lie detector test, because I'm 95% sure that guy cheated at the big fish tournament. He won the boat, he won the whole thing, brought in two giant fish. And he never shows up for Wednesday night tournaments, ever. He just showed up and tried to weigh a dead fish, and we had never seen him before. So, needless to say, he lost a reputation pretty darn quick around us. Let's see. Cynthia says, "What is your first bait for spring in northern Ohio?" Depends on what you mean spring is. But I always look at water temperature, and this is how I break it down. If my water temperature is below 50 degrees, I'm throwing a jig and a jerkbait, and maybe a slow lipless crankbait like I was just telling Damien. Once it hits 50 degrees, I'm going to bring in a chatterbait. I'm going to bring in a lipless crankbait. I'm going to bring in a spinnerbait. Gets into the mid-50s, I'm going to start fishing all of those baits faster. And I'm also going to bring in a Texas rig creature bait, something with a lot of things that flop. Is all I'm looking for. And then once it gets up into the 60s, I'm starting to look for spawning fish, and I'm going to throw the stuff I throw for spawning bass, which is a whole bunch of things. So that's kind of how I look at it. That's my bread and butter. You're going to see videos about that here shortly. Tomorrow I'm fishing a chatterbait, or I'm filming a chatterbait video. I might even film a jerkbait video, but I don't know. I'm not really prepared for one, but definitely a chatterbait video. So it's time to update mine. It's got a lot. I've learned a lot of information since the last video. Let me think. I'm just trying to find a good question. Dylan Henderson, what do you fish on Lake Altoona during spawn? I like to fish, honestly, the little Zoom lizards, the small ones. I think they're called baby lizards, but anyway, those on a little bitty offset worm hook and a 1/4 ounce weight on the front. I love to fish that for Altoona spotted bass. I don't know what it is, man, and the green pumpkin, but I have absolutely wrecked them on Altoona during the spawn with that little bitty bait. So, when do you say the pre-spawn starts in the Central Valley, California? This is how I judge when the pre-spawn is going on. When your nighttime temperatures start to be warmer than your water temperatures and consistently warmer. So say our water temperatures right now are in the 40s. If that water temperature is in the 40s and in the 40s and in the 40s and every night, and then all of a sudden you see 4 days where it's 50, 52, 51, 52, somewhere around there, that water temperature is going to warm up. And that's when the bass are like, whoop, it's time to go. It also has to do with the angle of the sun and amount of hours of daylight during the day. That'll spark it too. But my thought is that they become more active and they're easier to fish once that water temperature starts to rise and it continues to rise from the coldest temperature it is in the wintertime. So it's not a date. It's nothing like that. It's your conditions. So, and the amount of daylight thing that a lot of people talk about, it's usually in mid-February is when that happens, early to mid-February. Gene, how do you feel about keeping fish in an aquarium? Small ones, I don't mind, like little baby bass and that kind of stuff. I don't see any problem with that. But those guys who throw these, 4 and 5 pounders in swimming pools in their backyard and that kind of stuff, I don't. I'm not a big fan. It's not something I'm going to judge them over, but I wouldn't do it. I want a pond in my backyard full of fish is what I want. I don't want a puddle. So bass love to move. They love to be able to get away from hot temperatures and that kind of stuff. So see, every time I start to read something, the screen pops and the comment goes away. Jacob Nutter, he says, been going through and watching all your videos. When you create an updated video with new information, do you delete the older version? No, I don't. Nope. I keep the older one as well. It's pretty cool to go back and watch the older ones and then see how much more I've learned about certain things. And the Chatterbait is a prime example. That older video is a great video. I catch fish. I talk about the ways I fish them and stuff like that. But we've got new models of chatterbaits that have come out that you fish a little bit different, that sound a little different, and the bass react different too. We've got, and my knowledge of how they're made and what they're going, how fish react to them has increased a lot. And that's why I'm going to redo that one tomorrow. So I just hope I can get it up sometime next week. Let's see. Would you agree that a white craw creature bait is good to throw in stained pond during spawn? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's not a bad one. I mainly throw white baits just so I can see them in the water when I'm sight fishing for bass is what I do. If I can get away with like a green pumpkin or a natural color, I'd rather use it, though. Good budget-friendly pitching rod. Second question, left-handed crank and reel. Whew, all right, budget-friendly pitching rod. That's an easy one. A pitching rod for me, is a 7.4 heavy. And not super long, not short, but and with a little bit of tip. But I love a 7.4 heavy for pitching. And the budget just depends on what you can afford. The ones I throw $100 rods. They're the new V3 that's coming out this month from 13. That's a $100 rod. The Fate Black is what I've been throwing for a long time. Their newest version is coming out and it's $80. And I'm going to have one of those in a 7.4 heavy. So pretty good rods. But as for your second question, left-handed reel, that is personal preference, especially for me. I've got 2 left-handed reels that are specifically for punching. And I put them on my rods down in Florida. I fished them for 2 days and I flat sucked. I could not. I can pitch and flip with my left hand, no problem. With the reel in my left hand, I can flip and pitch with the reel in my right hand. Does not matter. When the reel is in my right hand and I've got to turn the handle with my left hand with a bass on the other end, I cannot do it. It's just physically and mentally impossible for me to manage that fish with the rod in my right hand. So I'm going to be fishing the rod in my left hand. I just don't lose fish with the rod in my left hand. It's crazy, but it's all personal preference. So what's a good time of the year to use a chatterbait? It is easier to say the period of time when you wouldn't use a chatterbait. The only time I would not use a chatterbait is when water temperature is below 40 degrees. Other than that, I'm using them all year long. If there's grass present, I'm throwing a chatterbait. All year long, except for when the water temperature is below 40 degrees. It just has too much action for them. So, and I imagine I could probably make some fish bite. There's just more other different lures I'd rather fish when it's that cold. So, thought my wife texted me, but nope, she's in the middle of a group chat that evidently I'm part of. So, Brian Lobkovich, have you fished in Michigan? I have. If so, what's your largest Michigan largemouth and smallmouth? Ooh, I can't remember. I think I caught a 5. Last time I was in Michigan, I caught a 5.5 largemouth and somewhere around a 4 smallmouths. We didn't get into really good smallmouth. We tried. Wait, no, that one was 5.5 pounds. The one I caught in that canal on Lake St. Clair. Yep. So that's it. So it's on video somewhere where I was fishing with Ben Nowak and Alex Rudd. You'll be able to see that smallmouth. So it was pretty cool. Pretty freaking amazing. Do you ever use a wake bait, and when is the best time to use it? I haven't used a wake bait in a number of years, but when I do use them, I'm usually fishing summertime on lakes that have schooling fish. They're really, really effective on blueback herring lakes, which there aren't very many of those in the country, but they're also effective in the heat of the summer when you know that there are some bass shallow in like wood and that kind of stuff. I'll throw it around wood cover and my favorite wake bait is the THKO wake bait, custom wake bait. They're not expensive. He makes a bunch of them. So, and what it is, it's a wake bait that looks like a fat crankbait, and it's got a jig skirt off the back treble, and the bass absolutely wreck them. So that's why I have a whole box of them. Best rod for spinnerbaits and chatterbaits. A medium heavy is a good one to start with. Is like a medium heavy moderate. 7'4". If you go into like 13's lineup, they have one that's specifically for chatterbaits. It's called the Chatter Crank rod, but they don't call it the Chatter Crank rod anymore. You go into the bait casters and look for the 7'4" moderate. If you go into the cranking rods, you're in the wrong section. If you're going to Tackle Warehouse, you go look for the 7'4" medium heavy moderate, and that is the Chatter Crank rod. And it's just got a little bit more backbone, and it's perfect for spinnerbaits and chatterbaits and large square bills and lipless crankbaits. So Jim Dillard, I think you're a great guy. Thank you for catching my wife when her chair collapsed. I want to donate. How do I do that? There's a little button at the bottom, looks like a $sign in YouTube, and it's called Super Chat, and just follow the directions once you click on that. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Oh, David Neal, thanks for the $3. He said you missed my first comment and donation. I did, because it didn't pop up. It means YouTube's messed up. Shoot. Sorry, man. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Are you as happy as me going to PK? Woohoo. I had never even heard of that lake. What's it called? It's called something Kingdom. Holy crap. What's the name of that lake? It's in Texas, where they're fishing the BASS Kayak Championship. But I'm excited, man. I'm definitely going to try to go. I got to look at my schedule and make sure everything's good, and it should be. So it'd be pretty cool. So, but man, oh man, I've never even seen that lake. This would be pretty neat. There's not a whole lot of Airbnbs around there, though, which is kind of concerns me, because that's where I like to stay. Okay, Dane Pikowski. What would be the best way to remember what pound test of line you have on your bait caster or your casting reels? I got it. Let me show you what I do. So I have this. I went to Hobby Lobby, and you go into the scrapbooking section, and they have these hole punchers that punch like different shape of holes. And I just got the square one, the little 1/4-inch square hole puncher. And I punch out stickers out of masking tape, the green painter's tape. And then I stick them right there on my reel. Okay, so here's the reel. There's the handle. There's where the gears are. And I stick it right there. And that one says 20F, 20-pound fluorocarbon is what that says. It's upside down for you guys. But 20-pound fluorocarbon. And it does not, I don't knock it off when it's on the rod or anything else. And all I got to do is I got to look real careful. But I look down in between the rod and right there, and I can see it's got 20-pound fluoro on it. And then when I switched the spools out, I don't know if you guys saw that on the video, the KVD video the other day, or the podcast, I changed the spools out and I changed the line, and the spool itself will have usually, and this time, and this one it doesn't, but the spool itself will have a sticker on it holding the line down. And it's usually a square green sticker, just like the one on that. And I'll take it and move it over and stick it right there, so I know what line is on that reel. So that's that. So Red Osprey, man, thanks for the $5, brother. He says, what do you think of the effectiveness of near transparent lure colors like the KVD Ocho in glacier colors? Dude, in super clear water, let me give you one of my tricks that I've been doing for years. Super clear water. Clark's Hill used to be a really clear lake. Had hydrilla in it. Hydrilla was a great filter, so on and so forth. And it's a topwater lake. They school almost year round there. I always threw a super clear or a clear Super Spook Junior. And I've caught thousands of bass on that Super Spook Junior, but I put a red treble hook on the front, and that was the target. These bass would come out of 15, 20, 25 feet of water and hit topwater, and they would always get that red hook because they could see it on their way up, and it was a target. I'm a believer in it, especially in that clear water. You don't want them to get a good look at the bait. And so the clearer the bait, the better. I throw clear KVD square bills that they made them so painters could paint them, but I buy them and put hooks on them and just use them straight clear. You know, again, I might put a red treble on the front if I feel like they need a target, that kind of stuff. See. Bill Weaver, I love this question. He says, do you use much plastic? What's your favorite 3 rigs? I'm a probably 60% Texas rig guy. I'm going to throw a Texas rig a lot. In the early spring, I throw something that's called a creeper head, which is a shaky head that you drag on the ground. And I'll throw a creature bait on it, something like that. And then my third favorite would be a Carolina rig, which I absolutely love throwing. And I don't talk enough about it, but it's one of my favorite rigs. So those are the 3. Soft plastics, man, you put any soft plastics on any one of those rigs. So Nathan Conley, thanks for the $5 Canadian, brother. Appreciate it. He says, in a kayak tournament, do you fish areas even if you aren't picking fish up on your electronics, or do you just cover high percentage spots regardless? If I'm not picking up like bait and I'm not seeing life in my general area, I'm not fishing. I may make a few casts as I'm moving, but I'm not going to slow down and not going to pick the place apart. Once I start seeing concentrations of bait and concentration of life in the area, that's when I'll slow down. So, and every time I see a high percentage spot in those areas, I'm going to stop and throw at it. So thanks for the $5 Canadian, man. I appreciate it. Chance Shafter, thanks for $5. He said, would you recommend a bona fide SS-127? I'm about to buy one. Just want to hear your thoughts on it. I love my boat. Sponsorship or not, throw the sponsorship out the freaking door. I love my bona fide. I love it. It's awesome with a motor. Because of my tendonitis, I don't paddle much anymore. I can paddle all day, but then I'm recovering for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I love having the XI3 on the front, but it is a great kayak, super stable. You can fish standing up in it all day long. You can fish sitting down in it all day long, and your joints and stuff don't ache at the end of the day. So I love it, man. It's a great boat. And so, and the 127 hull is stable enough and big enough to hold all of my junk, and which I really like. So it's pretty cool. It's a good question, man. Appreciate it. Possum Kingdom. That's the name of the lake. Why would they name a lake Possum Kingdom? Please explain this to me, Texas. But it looks like a fun lake to fish. So let's see. In what situation should you throw a Carolina rig, and what lure bait do you use? I'll throw a Carolina rig. Oh shoot. Most of the year. Early in the spring, I'm throwing creature baits. I'm throwing lizards. And as you get into post spawn, I'm going to throw worms, ribbon tail worms, straight tail worms, that kind of stuff all summer long. And then in some type of a worm or some type of a paddle tail. What other things do I love throwing a Senko on it. And I'll throw a Senko throughout the summer. It catches a lot of good fish. I usually throw a Senko on a little bit longer leader, something like a 24 to 36 inch leader. But yeah, those are the styles, and that's typically my time frame of when I throw that kind of stuff. Did I get that one? Yeah, I did. Okay. Let's see. Do you use Elastic or regular soft plastics for Ned rigs? Almost always Elastic, just because it floats so well. You get the best action out of a Ned rig with a floating plastic on it. And so, and nothing beats Elastic for floating. Unfortunately, you can't dip Elastic in JJ's Magic, which sucks, because I put every soft plastic I throw in the water, I have JJ's Magic on it. And so, but you can't do it with Elastic, because Elastic will dissolve in JJ's. It's a pretty cool magic trick, though. Do you ever throw a Carolina rig, shallow, 3 foot or less? Sometimes, not usually. Not usually. I usually use it for structure fishing a little bit offshore. Maybe I'll throw it in like shallow, large flats, like they have stump flats that are 3-4 foot deep, but not very often. Let's see. Here's one. Damien says, okay, March 6th, I have a tournament at Lake Gunnersville and thinking about going where you go. I'm not going to blast it, and I don't want you to say, but what would you throw? Damien, throw a flat-sided square or flat-sided bait. Play around with your depths. Sometimes they're in 7 feet deep. Sometimes they're in 4 feet deep. So especially in March, on March 6th, take you some red flat-sided crankbaits out and throw them. They're hard to find right now in tackle shops. They're pretty much everybody's sold out of flat-sided crankbaits. So use the ones you've got if you got any. Yeah, that's definitely what I would do. And a lipless crankbait. Hit me up on Facebook. I'm going to give you a secret color lipless crankbait for Gunnersville that I haven't shared with anybody. So you better keep it secret or I'll come hunt you down. Do you use blade baits? If you do, when is the best time and conditions to use it? I use blade baits when the water temperature is below 40, all winter long, pretty much all winter, and I fish them real close to the bottom. Typically, like I said, once it reaches 40, there's other baits I would rather throw. Not saying that a blade bait won't work. It's just other ones I will have tied on and throwing. So, Dag is 56. Thanks for the 350. He says, stuck in Michigan, waiting for the ice to melt. Dude, that sucks. That really does, man. It is cold this summer, or this summer. Dang. Global warming is getting us, I'm telling you. Anyway, bacon or chicken wings? Oh my goodness. I had bacon tonight on my pizza, but girl, I'm a chicken wing guy. I make some of the best smoked chicken wings on the planet. I make my own sauce, own buffalo sauce. I make my own barbecue sauce. I'm a chicken wing freak. I probably buy every other week. I'll buy a family pack of wings and I'll butcher them up myself and get them going. So yeah, smoked wings, but I've had wings all over the country, including in Buffalo, New York. So, if you will have 4 rods, 2 medium and 2 medium heavy, which lines would you choose almost all your lures? The mediums I tend to throw 12 pound on, just a good all the way around one, and it works really well with that rod. Medium heavies, 15 or 17. And yeah, that's it. And I'm going to throw Seagar Brazex on all of those. Just it's the one I've been using for about 5 years, and it is my confidence line. I have not had a problem with them. So, Avery, flats or drums? Both. I love a mix of both flats and drums. Man, chicken wings, holy crap. Yeah, I smoke my chicken wings for 2.5 hours on low as I possibly can get it and still get smoke out. Then I pump it up to about 275, 250 for another hour. And then once they're almost done, but the skin needs to be crisp, I pop it up to 450 degrees and literally crisp out the skin and pull them off. And dude, the meat's falling off the bone and it's got the best flavor. And the rub I use has got 22 different spices in it that I've figured out and made myself. And it's awesome. So yeah, chicken wings are my thing. Clemson, $4.99. Thanks, man. Thanks for the $5. Sorry, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. If ever in North Carolina and need a tooth extracted or root canal, hit me up. Weedless chatterbait or swim jig in heavy cover. Woo, that's hard, dude. If it's post frontal, if you had a cold front move through, I'd throw a swim jig. If you've had good stable weather for like 3 or 4 days, then a chatterbait. That's probably what I would do. I would try to start with a chatterbait, but typically during tough conditions and weather and that kind of stuff, a swim jig is going to work a little bit better just because it's not quite so invasive. So it doesn't make hardly any noise. Thanks for the $5, man. Appreciate it. Share that buffalo sauce recipe. It's pretty simple. Frank's red hot. I don't ever measure anything, but Frank's red hot. A little bit of onion powder. Take a whole bottle of Frank's red hot. Dump it in a bowl. A little bit of onion powder. A little bit of garlic. Minced garlic. Some about a half a cup, maybe 3/4 of a cup of molasses. And a stick and a half to 2 sticks of butter. Heat it all up, and I'll take an empty bottle of Frank's and I'll fill them both up with the sauce and have them for days, weeks. So that's pretty much what it is. I throw a little bit, it depends on how I feel that day, whether I throw anything else in there. But only Frank's Red Hot as the base. How's your Airbnb at Lake Murray, middle of the lake? Where is it? No, it's down towards the dam. So it's like a 30 or 40 minute drive to everywhere from there. So I'm okay with it. So what do you think tastes better, bluegill or crappie? Crappie all day long. And these are some fun questions. I like these. Dane Plasky, what do you feel about people catching fish wild and bringing them home and breeding them their self? Would it hurt the population of the breeding stock? No, it wouldn't. If it's legal, then go ahead. I don't think it's legal in a lot of places. Maybe it is. I don't know, but that 1 or 2 fish, 3 fish ain't going to hurt nothing. A bunch of fish really isn't. Down here in the South, everybody talks about how much we bed fish and sight fish for tournaments. It doesn't really hurt the population. It really doesn't, because there's so many fish that spawn out deep later on in the season. Dang it, I'm out of water. Andrew, I don't know what this jerkbait is. It says, any thoughts on vintage balsa jerkbaits? Inherited some ugly duckling boxes, are trashed but new. Save or use Clarksville. I don't know, man. I've never even heard of those. If they suspend good, I'd use them all day long. Let's see. This is a good question. I've got a video that answers this really good, but I'm going to hit the highlights. It says, I just got myself a boat and can now fish offshore. What baits would I use in a grassy large lake? My favorite baits to use in grass, and it depends on the type of grass, but lipless crankbait, chatterbait, a fluke over the top, spinner baits sometimes. Trying to think of anything else. And if you need to go finesse, look up my video on the Mojo rig. And instead of the Mojo weight, which are hard to find, you can use a pinch on bullet weight, or not bullet weight, pinch on split shot weight if you need to. So, Kelly M, do you like venison chili? Yes, I do. I won a chili cook-off like probably 10 years ago on my venison chili. Yeah, I love it. I ground most of the deer that we take during the season. I usually grind probably 70% of it, because we do chili, we do tomato or spaghetti sauce and that kind of stuff. And I make my own spaghetti sauce from the tomatoes that I grow in my garden. Matter of fact, in that closet behind me, I've got my little makeshift greenhouse sprouting tomatoes right now. I've got 160 tomato plants, hopefully, is what I'll be planting this year. So, would you trade wings for frog legs with Old Bay on them with butter? Probably not. I love frog legs, but somebody has to cook them that really knows how to cook frog legs before I'll eat them, because they can get tough real quick. So no, I won't trade chicken wings for those. Not enough meat on a frog leg anyway. Have I ever made soft plastic baits? I used to make them with Ryan. Ryan had made some really good Senkos. So his screen name on forums used to be Senko 77. So, but yeah, he used to make some great big 7 and 8 inch Senkos that were awesome. Man, I get that question every week. I'm not going to answer it. It's vintage as in old. Andy Basson, that's funny. Fluke Master, have you ever used the Zoom Tequila Sunrise? I asked because I have and caught a largemouth. I hope if Damien's still on here, he can answer that. So there's a tackle shop downtown called the Country Sportsman, and I frequent there and spend a whole lot of money there. But every summer, I buy every Tequila Sunrise worm that they have, and I will use every single bag that I buy usually by the end of the summer. So yes, it's my favorite summertime color. Absolutely my favorite summertime color. So Ron Warbington, ever fish Clark's Hill? Yes, the first 5 years of my YouTube channel, maybe 6, were all on Clark's Hill. I lived there for 15 years. I used to be stationed at Fort Gordon. Got out of the Army and stayed there and worked at Medical College, Georgia for 15 years. Chili dogs or slaw dogs? Slaw dogs. Yep. How come you never mentioned fishing with the Fluke anymore? I don't really fish it much. You know, I've done so many Fluke videos over the years that I kind of got away from fishing it so I could teach other techniques. And Clark's Hill's a really good Fluke lake, and I haven't fished it since I moved from there 4 years ago. So the lakes around me are only Fluke lakes, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 weeks out of the year. And then after that, they're not that great. So, but on Clark's Hill, you fish a Fluke all year long. So that has a lot to do with it, mainly the lakes that I fish. Can you use a ribbon tail on a shaky head? Yes, you can. You'll find that the ribbon tail wraps around your line a lot, but you can do it. I've done it. I've used to throw an old monster on a shaky head all the time. So what'd you do in the Army? I heard you mention it before. I was an X-ray tech and a field medic. So I was a dual MOS, 9-1 Bravo, 9-1 Papa. So I would volunteer to go to the field to get my butt out of the hospital because it would drive me nuts being in 4 walls all day long. So what do you think of the Dale guac color? Oh, I put it in the barn. I love them. I love them. It's what a Dale guac is, green pumpkin with an orange belly. It's a crawfish color from 13 Fishing. I love it. Absolutely. It's going to be dynamite on clear lakes. If I can find clear water on Lake Murray this next week, I'm going to be throwing the Dale guac color. It's just going to be hard because of all the rain that they've had. So let's take a few more questions. Here's Damien's response to my Tequila Sunrise, and it's hard to find them in the store because Gene first know how to share. Gene first know how to share because he just has to beat me in the tournaments. I don't know how to share. You're right. Yeah. So Damien and I usually fish side by side in the tournaments. We fish against each other, but we're always talking and sharing information. The only problem is that I always buy all the Tequila Sunrise worms before he does. That's funny. Steve Smith says, I'm retired Army. Armistice. That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for your service, brother. Ever thought about redoing your getting into bass fishing series? Yes. Yep. I've thought about this year. Maybe even into next year, because I'm going to try to get my son out on early work release next year so we can film every day. But this year, what we're going to do is I'm doing nothing but instructional videos. I'm going to do a lot of focus on beginner stuff. But I'm also going to hit like lures and techniques as much as I possibly can. So I just need to get everything caught up here in my family life before I bust out and just can do a video a day, which it probably will never get caught up. But one of these days, I'm just going to say, you know what? They're just going to have to go aside and I'm going to go bust out 10 or 15, 20 videos. So, all right, last question. Is this a fishing channel or a food channel? That's not the last question, Don. It can be a food channel. I'm a foodie. Let's see. Here's the question. What does it say? Fishing the Southeast says, what do you think makes 13 Fishing different for other bass fishing brands, and why do you continue to work with them? The customer service, quality, innovation, etc. In the beginning, when I first started to use 13 Fishing rods, I felt like you were getting more rod and more reel for the money that they were charging for it. So it felt like a better reel, and it performed like a better reel than what you paid for. So it was a better deal. And then I got to know the owner, and I got to know the guys that make the reels and make the rods or design them. I got to know everybody in the company, and I realized that, one, their integrity is top notch. Two, they don't like to follow. They don't like to copy people. They like to do their thing. And three, they want to make the best product they possibly can, make enough money to build the business and to have a business, but they want to pass all the savings on to you guys. And so you're going to continue to get the best rods and reels for the money you're spending. I'm not saying that they make the best rods and reels on the market. I'm just saying that you're going to get a better reel than what you paid for. That's what I love about it. Now, with their soft plastics and with their hard baits and their new baits that are coming out, I love them because, one, they don't want to copy anybody. Okay. And two, they want to do things different. They want to have different colors. They want to show you different things. And they really are digging into with the soft plastics, they're digging into the different densities of plastic, depending on the techniques you're going to be using and that kind of stuff. And they're also, with their hard baits, they're trying to make the best bait they can for the least amount of money. The new $6.99 crankbaits and hard baits are amazing, and you're only spending $7 a piece on them. So I love them, and I had a lot to do with those. I have boxes of prototypes. They didn't just go to China and pick them out of a catalog. I've got 3D printed prototypes all the way up to the final production before paint that I took out and I tested and I made sure it worked well. And they're only $6.99. And when they told me the price point, that's when I really wanted to help them fine tune those things. So, Hunter, man, thanks for the $10. He says, don't have a ton of confidence on a jackhammer chatterbait. How do you like to fish a chatterbait? Let me do that video tomorrow and you'll see. But my favorite way to fish it most of the time is to cast it out, especially if there's no grass. Cast it out, let it sink to the bottom, and just drag it to where I just barely feel that blade thumping, and then stop. And then pick up my slack and drag it and stop and pick up my slack. And you'll get bit. You're only bringing it up about that far off the bottom, and those bass will kill it this time of year. But let me film that video for you tomorrow. I've got a whole huge outline of that video, and you're going to love it. And I love fishing them, man. I've caught some giants. That's what I fished all down in Florida, and finished fourth in that tournament and wrecked them. I mean, the last 2 hours of the day, I caught all of my big fish on a chatterbait. So, all right. I'm going to jump off of here. It's been well over an hour. It's longest one I've done in a long time. Thanks for everybody for joining me. And appreciate it. Get out there and go fishing. You guys in Texas and in the cold, stay warm, take care of each other, and most of all, have a good day. But like I would say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.